What's going on, boys? It's your boy John here again. Still doing the audio, don't even know what to call it, the audio videos. Still dark where I'm at. I'm making this video right after the one I've just made before. Yeah, tell me what you think about this style. It allows me to not keep the camera in my face and I'm just speaking right into the microphone. But anyway, I've been reading Proverbs lately, the book of Proverbs in the New Testament. And the main theme of that book is imparting wisdom on God's children. Okay, we're God's children. And the book of Proverbs is filled with wisdom sent directly by the Lord himself to guide us into righteousness. That's what the whole book of Proverbs is about, imparting the discipline and the wisdom of righteousness, and how it is absolutely vital that we take this virtue of righteousness and we make this our life principle. We make this our life's purpose. And it's a funny thing, because I just completed my dissertation for my third year university. I was studying history. And the main theme of that dissertation, without me even knowing it, without me even understanding it truly from the beginning, I started the dissertation out by studying Clovis the first king of the Franks. And well, he wasn't the first king of the Franks, but he was the first king who conquered all of France and brought it under the rulership of the Franks. And he was the first Christian Frank, so the first Christian French ruler. And in Gregory of Tours' Historiorum Francorum, or the history of the Franks, the book's basically about how if you want to be a good Christian king, and if you want to go to heaven, and if you want to experience the benefits of the Lord and all of his fruits that he can offer you in this world and the next, then you have to follow his guidance. You have to follow his wisdom. And the main theme of the history of the Franks is being a righteous man. You have to follow the righteous path. You have to walk a higher path. You can't engage in sin and vice and lower vibrational behavior, which is essentially what it is. You can't engage in these things if you want to be a good Christian king. So Gregory brings out Clovis the First, and he presents him as the ideal Christian king. But the main reason why he is the ideal Christian king for the Merovingian dynasty, which is the dynasty Gregory was writing for, is because Clovis was focused on righteous behavior. You see, even when he was a pagan, Gregory tells us that Clovis was a righteous man. He was honourable to the church. When there was an incident of him conquering a part of Gaul from Syagrius, a Roman king slash pseudo petty ruler, who proclaimed himself king of the Romans after the fall of the Roman Empire. He ruled a little part of Gaul. After Clovis took him over, defeated him in battle, he plundered a church. And when he plundered this church, he took with him a certain vase, however you say it. And he brought this with him, and he was going back to his base in Tournai, which is in current-day Belgium. He was going back to Tournai, and a church messenger followed them. And he came up to Clovis and he said, "Clovis, I beg you, please return this vase. The bishop of my church has requested you return it. It is very sacred to us. We beg you to return this." And Clovis says, "Okay, I will give it to you." Right? He says, I'll give it to you. I'm going to go back to Tournai. Come with me to Tournai. And I'm going to ask my followers to allow me to take this vase into my possession, because we conquered it as a unit. We took this war booty as a unit, so we have to share this equally. So I'm going to ask my troops to give me this vase, and once they've given it to me, I will then give it to you, and you can go back to your bishop, and everything's going to be fine and dandy. So he has honour, okay? And when they get back to Tournai, he asks his soldiers, please, he says, like in a little speech, I would greatly appreciate it if you could give me the vase. And add this to my lot of the war booty. And all the soldiers, the insubordinates or whatever, not the insubordinates, the subordinates, they say yes, of course, King Clovis, of course, you can take whatever you want, everything here is yours, whatever you give to us is of your own will. But then there's one man, one soldier, who says, no, you can't take this. You can't take this vase. This is over and above your share. And he takes an axe and he smashes the vase. And Clovis, Gregory tells us, was very temperate in the situation. He had forbearance. Okay, he showed forbearance. He didn't act immediately. He was calm. He kept his anger sheathed. And he picked up the broken pieces of the vase and gave it to the church messenger and said, take it back to your bishop. A year later, Clovis came up to the man who smashed the vase in a military inspection. And he went to the man and he said, your sword is rusty and it's in bad condition. Your axe is even worse. Look at your clothes. You've barely looked after them. You have the worst appearance in uniform of the entire unit. Shame on you. So he picks his axe up, he picks the soldier's axe up and throws it to the floor. And then he tells the soldier to pick it up. And as the soldier bends over to pick the axe up, Clovis puts the axe, his own axe, into his head. And he says, this is what you did to my ewer in Soissons. And that's where he defeated Syagrius. So this was when he was still a pagan, good old Clovis. The moral of the story is Clovis is a man of righteous justice. He gives and delivers righteous justice because he's an agent of God. He's been pre-selected by the Lord to deliver righteous justice because he is a righteous man. Even when he's a pagan, officially, the Spirit of Christ is well and truly strong inside of him. And he's a proponent of righteous justice, even when it's to do with the Christians, when it's to do with the church, when he's not even a church man, he's not even a Christian at this point. He still respects the church's, he respects the church's reputation, and he respects the church as an establishment, and he honors their God. Even though he doesn't believe in God, Yahweh, the Christian God, he still respects and believes that he exists. So he has to deliver righteous justice as his own principles dictate. And the last chapter of the Clovis narrative in Gregory of Tours' history is when he goes against his fellow Frankish kings, the rivals in his kingdom, and he acts as an enticer. He tempts these kings with all sorts of pleasures and all sorts of rewards. If they engage in sinful activity, Clovis rewards them, or promises to reward them, with greatness, with money, with kingdoms, with glory. But the moment they engage in any sort of sin that Clovis is enticing them to engage in, Clovis then delivers righteous justice again. He kills them, or he tricks them in some way or another, and he kills them, or he gets rid of them. But the main point of the story, the moral of the story, is Clovis delivers righteous justice, righteous indignation. And it's really funny how my dissertation ended up taking this theme of righteousness as its main story, as its main point, as its main point of dialogue. And very funny, very massive coincidence, because during my days of nofab, I myself took on the burden, or I took on the promise to myself, of behaving and being a righteous man. Very funny that, isn't it? And I chose my dissertation topic at the beginning of last year. So this was before I even ever considered reading the Bible, or ever considered doing nofab, ever. But I still chose this topic, and it led me down to the route of going into looking at this man, this Clovis guy, Clovis character. The character of Clovis is most likely fictional in Gregory's book, but the point is, how does Gregory construct his kingship based on righteousness? And how, in God's world, did I end up taking the same path this year whilst writing the dissertation? This gigantic coincidence. Because I started reading the book of Proverbs, and the book of Proverbs, which is the book of wisdom, its main theme is righteousness. And when you read the book of Proverbs and you read Gregory's book, you can tell exactly where Gregory got his inspiration from. He got it straight from the book of Proverbs, because the book of Proverbs is all about engaging in virtue, engaging in righteousness, in self-control, in self-discipline, okay? And staying away from sin, staying away from vice. Keeping discernment, which is another one. The key to being righteous is always to maintain discernment. And the characters of Clovis, the characters who are Clovis's enemies in the book, they're always characters who don't know how to maintain discernment. So they're always engaging in sin or lower vibrational behavior because they're not using discernment as a tool to navigate the world, whereas Clovis is. And the book of Proverbs tells us that the man who uses discernment to guide his way through the world is always going to be in God's favor, because he's using wisdom, which is another word. It's the feminine version of the Lord, of God himself. Wisdom is the female Lord. It's an archetype of the Lord himself. And he who gives himself to wisdom will always be following in God's path. And it's very, very funny how this year everything that I've done has led to me reading the Bible, going back to the Lord, picking up righteous indignation, righteous justice, righteous behavior for my own part, for my own sake, and how my own life very closely mirrors, in a very pale comparison, to that of Clovis's, or at least the character of Clovis that Gregory is making. But it's very, very funny. And it's another reason, it's another massive coincidence that proves to me that the Lord is watching me, that the Lord is here, the Lord is present. And this year, he has made sure that I jump on the ship, on getting on my bloody path, following the Lord's path that he's given to me. Because for the last 3 years, I was lost. Believe it or not, I was completely lost. I was astray. I was a fool, you know, in all honesty. But in those foolish days, I learned a lot. I learned a lot during those foolish days. But in those days where I was lost, and I was not using discernment at all, and I certainly not subscribed to wisdom, I was still being guided by the Lord in many ways. Because the one thing that I had was good fortune. Nothing bad happened to me. Nothing bad happened to me in the most physical sense. I mean, yes, I internally was suffering massively. I had all sorts of anxiety, all sorts of depression. I hated everything about life, and I had this very, very bad energy. But on the external side of things, I was absolutely fine. I always had enough food. I was never subject to any crime. I never suffered any bad physical outbursts from other people. I never was hurt physically. I was never, lost. Like, I never got lost. I always found my way. Let's say I went on holiday or something, I'd always come back. I'd always find, if I got lost on the holiday, something would always guide me back to where I'm supposed to be by some twist of fate. If I ever lost an item, like a phone or my keys or my credit card, it would always find me. I'd always find it again, or it would find me. I've never lost anything, which is really funny, because I put that down to the Lord again, the Lord guiding me and making sure that I'm safe, making sure that I'm good and fine, but also giving me a lot of lessons along the way. Lessons that will make me be better. These aspects of the Lord guiding me are very small, because the world that we live in is very superficial. So the ways in which the Lord has helped me is very superficial, but it's very, very real. Which is why I want to really emphasize this entire audio recording or video, or whatever you want to call it. The moral of this is to say that we are men, the men that are engaged in this path, the men that are doing these practices, these higher vibrational practices, men who are subscribed to higher ideals. We are following a righteous path, gentlemen. I've said this before, we're walking the path of righteousness, but we really, really are this time. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's serious. We are really walking a higher path because the Lord has selected us. He's pre-selected us from birth to do this, because he does choose a few people. Okay, he doesn't choose everyone. Yes, everyone's saved. Everyone's saved, yes. Everyone is going to be judged and everyone's going to be saved at the end of the day. But the Lord does choose a few select people who he sees fit to really embody the virtues of what he wants from humanity, his children. There's a few people, gentlemen, and I believe, so from the bottom of my heart, from the deepest aspects and areas of my soul, I genuinely believe that the people who have found this semen retention nofap journey, this thing, we're pre-selected to be higher men, to be greater men than the rest. And that's not out of selfishness, just so that we get pleasures and rewards. We're going to get rewarded, don't get me wrong. We're going to get rewarded in every sort of pleasure you can imagine. But those pleasures are only going to come to us when we've allocated our higher purpose to be that with the Lord himself. With the Lord, you'll get everything in this life and the next. Have no fret about that. Don't be anxious about that. If you've put the Lord in your heart and you subscribe to him as your highest purpose, trust me, you will get everything in this life and the next. If you don't get in this life, you'll definitely get it in the next. He will reward you, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, he will reward you. But what you need to keep in mind is, yes, you will get rewarded, but he has not chosen you just so that you be rewarded. He has not chosen you to be a higher man, a righteous man. He has not put his spirit in you so strongly just so that he can then reward you later on. No. You've been given this power and this responsibility so that you can guide humanity. You can guide the lost sheep, the flock that's gone astray. You're here to guide them, gentlemen. Okay, when we say and we talk of alpha males, a lot of us, when we first found out the idea of the alpha male, we looked at his dominance and his attraction from women and his sheer masculinity as being the main attractors for why we want to become like the alpha male. That was our driving motivation. But what we really didn't look at, back then anyway, because back then we were looking at the alpha male from a lower vibrational point of view. So we were looking at his physical attributes and why we want to emulate that. But once your vibration has been raised to a certain level and you're now thinking and feeling on a higher vibrational plane, i.e. you're thinking with virtue now, you're thinking with righteousness now, you're thinking with higher positivity now, you're going to look at the alpha male in a completely different way. Because when I look at the alpha male now I see Jesus as being the alpha male. I see King Clovis as the alpha male. I see Marcus Aurelius as the alpha male. Because these men, the reason that they're alpha is because they've been chosen by the Lord, to guide humanity. They've been chosen by the Lord with very select attributes to walk a higher path so that they can guide the rest of humanity into salvation. And that's the ultimate message of the book of Gregory's History of the Franks. If you follow the ideal Christian king, which is Clovis, then you will be given and granted salvation. You will not go to hell. You will not suffer God's wrath. And all throughout the book, the enemies of Clovis and the enemies of the Lord are receiving God's wrath in every form or another. Clovis himself is an aspect of the Lord's wrath because he always punishes the Lord's enemies through the same method, the axe through the head. He is God's avenger, sent by the Lord himself to defeat the enemies who have gone astray and most importantly have defied the Lord. They've not just left the Lord, but they're now actively defying the Lord, and they've chosen to take the devil's place in this world. They've chosen to follow the devil rather than the Lord, and the Lord will smite these people. He will smite them because these people know the truth, but they've willingly forsaken it. And that's it, gentlemen. That's my message for today. You got to look at this journey of quote unquote becoming an alpha male or becoming a righteous man or following the highest virtue. You've got to see it now as being a burden, not just for you, but for the rest of humanity, because you are going to be taking on the burden of humanity. When you're on this journey, don't expect you to be alone. You are going to be alone for a lot of it. I've noticed this as well. You're going to be alone for a lot of this journey because your tolerance for bullshit is going to basically be none now. You're going to put all your energy and your attention and focus on things that matter, on reading the Bible, on understanding your life's journey, your purpose, putting then your energy into that purpose and actually accomplishing things. You're going to put it into these activities now, these higher vibrational activities. Squabbling with friends and competing on lower level battlegrounds is going to be a thing of the past. You're going to walk away from most of that now. you're going to walk away from it because it's a waste of time and a waste of energy. Your energy and focus is going to go into things that are a lot more productive. And your friends, your social circle is going to become massively shortened. I only have maybe 1 or 2 very, very good friends who we think on the same vibrational pattern, that we have the same philosophies and we have the same moral compasses. Yes, we disagree here and there on certain aspects, but at the end of the day, our journeys are very, very intertwined. These are people that I trust. I actually trust them. It's not a superficial friendship, it's a friendship of trust. And it's a very, very strong trust. You don't find many of these people in this world. You don't find many of them at all. I probably only have 1, maybe 2 of these. Okay, if I want to really stretch it, I could say 3. But I'm going to just be honest with you and just say 2 right now. You don't have many of these. And this is your inner circle. Your inner circle, the so-called small council, these are trusted members who are in your little circle, your inner circle. And these are the only important people in your life. You don't have anyone else. Okay, because your priorities now are different. But yes, you are going to be alone for a lot of it. But once you have reached a certain level, okay, if I want to use the NoFap analogy, let's say you've gone 90 days to 120 days. Once you've reached those days, you are going to have to accept a certain amount of personal responsibility for the people in your life. A certain amount, not the entire responsibility, but you are going to accept a little bit. Because what we'll find is once you've adopted the higher path, gentlemen, once you've adopted the higher path of the Lord, other people are going to see you as being a leader. Why? Because the Lord made you so. He made you a leader, okay? That's why you've got that will, that thumos, that spirit in your heart, okay? The Greek word for high-spiritedness, masculine spiritedness is thumos. The reason you've got this thumos is because the Lord has made you that way. The Lord has made you that way so that you can be a leader, so that other people can look upon you for guidance, mentorship, and leadership. And don't be surprised when it starts to happen, because it will. Because you're going to carry yourself as a man of God, as a man of the Lord. You're going to carry yourself now as if you are guided by a higher purpose. You are walking a higher path now. Other people can smell that, gentlemen. Other people have been able to smell leadership since the beginning of time. Because it's in our DNA too. It's in our DNA to spot a leader. Because at the end of the day, we want to be safe. We want to be guided. We want to be loved. And we want to be protected by this leader. Don't be surprised that when you're on this journey, many people are going to look upon you for leadership. 90% of people in your friendship circle or otherwise are going to look upon you as a leader. Fellow men who walk similar righteous paths are either going to hate you and make you an enemy, or they're going to at least respect you. Even the ones who hate you are going to respect you. That's what I've noticed. Other men who walk higher paths, they're not going to hate you in general. If anything, I should reword that entire sentence. Men who walk higher paths are never going to hate you. They're always going to actually respect you, or they're going to love you. The respect doesn't mean that they love you. The respect, they can still not like you, but they will respect you, 100%. But the ones who will love you, oh, those are the guys that you're going to make your friends. They're going to be your best friends now, because you're thinking on the same level. And again, a lot of people love to talk about the women attraction from NoFap. It's a very superficial thing now when I'm looking at it, a very superficial thing, and it's a very small part of the puzzle, because the so-called women attraction is women simply smelling the gift of the Lord on you, okay, and they want to be guided. The women are God's children as well, and in this day and age, women are more lost than ever. They're more unguided than ever before. So when you walk in, a man of the Lord himself, a man of God, a man who walks the righteous path, yes, women are going to be attracted to you because you have that aura, the magnetic aura of the Lord himself. You've got God's power behind you. Of course, women are going to be attracted to you. And it goes the same for women as well. You're either going to get women who love you or women who are at least going to respect you. That doesn't mean they're all going to like you. Absolutely not. Humans are humans at the end of the day, and they're going to have likes and dislikes. Women, all of them are not going to like you, but I can guarantee you that you will get 99% of them, they will respect you. Okay? And at the end of the day, you're not here to get their respect or their like or their hate. You're just here to just do your own thing. You guide those who want to be guided. You guide those who need guidance. You don't go and put your guidance on everyone, because not everyone is deserving and not everyone's ready. I don't preach this shit to people in real life. Okay, I'm not preaching this stuff to people who I meet every day, because they don't want to hear it, number one, and number two, they're not ready. They will let me know when they're ready to hear any of these words. The people on this channel are ready to hear these words. You've come across this channel not by chance, gentlemen. You've not come here by chance. You've come here because the Lord has put this channel on your path. I'm not trying to big myself up, but I am a speaker at the end of the day. I'm talking about certain things, and a lot of things that I'm talking about are not being talked about by other people. So if you've come across me or you've met me in some way and this channel's found you, believe me, it's not a chance incident. Okay, there's a reason for it, and it's because you're ready to hear what I'm saying. You're ready to hear the message of your life. Okay, and what is that message again? It's the one of the higher path. You are walking a higher path now. Be prepared. You will have many adversaries and many challenges now, because now you've really taken up the mantle. You've taken up this burden now. So your challenges are going to increase, but your rewards are also going to increase. Your life is going to be easier, but it's also going to be one filled with a lot of adversity now. And your will has to be proven through this first practice of semen retention. Because rather than waste that vital energy, God's own energy that He's given to you as a man, you are now keeping it inside, and you are ready to hear God's gifts. You're ready to receive them now, because you've already proven to Him that you are worthy of it. All right, gentlemen, that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know what you think. I do wish that you have a very, very pleasant day.